Disco, AI native learning and community platform at its core. Real important part of our value proposition is like the speed at which you can start a community and build learning pathways, learning programs, all in one kind of integrated place. So like speed, premium design and UX and engagement are really like high engagement are really the core kind of outcomes we're looking to achieve with our customers.
Hey everyone, I'm Todd Nilson and I've been working as a community strategist since 2013. I'm starting a new video series where I'm walking through community platforms with the people who build them. But here's what makes this different. These aren't your typical marketing demos. Community platforms are a major investment. In each of these episodes, you'll get a real walkthrough of a platform with someone who knows it inside and out. But you'll also get my perspective as someone who's been through dozens of platform evaluations and launches. Subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. So let's figure out which community platforms are actually worth your time.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you may happen to be. You've tuned in to talk about your community. Clocktower Advisors, I'm Todd Nilson, your host. And on this particular special series, we are doing a series of platform demos of community platforms that are worthy of your consideration. We're taking a deep dive here with me as a community strategist who's worked on literally dozens of different communities for a variety of different organizations, from nonprofits to B2B to B2C organizations, startups to Fortune 100s. And so I've really kind of seen all flavors of community. And the benefit of this series is that you get to see some of the questions that I ask in the course of reviewing these platforms and maybe help you get a little bit closer to a decision about which one is right for your organization. So with that, I am very excited today to bring aboard a friend. Actually, Disco is a partner, Chris Stefanyk, head of revenue with Disco. And we're going to be talking about the Disco platform today. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks for having me. Excited for this.
Yeah, me too. I've been looking forward to this. I've been working with in Disclosure with Disco as a partner for a couple of years now. It's been a very good working relationship. I definitely wanted to spend some time on the stage with you looking at Disco a little more closely for other organizations that might be thinking about taking the dive and looking at Disco as a solution. First of all, Disco is such an interesting name. It's got a lot of character to it, and I'm wondering, what was the inspiration behind the name and maybe the platform as well? Like, what is it that inspired Candace, the founder, to really go this direction with a community platform?
Yeah. So fun fact: Disco is actually the Latin root word for to learn, right? And so Disco really much believes in the intersection or the power of learning and community together, right? So we intersect across those two worlds, right? The educational world and the community world, and certainly that actually bridges you into like a bit of the origin story of the platform, right? Like as we kind of came out of COVID and lots of learning was moving online. Certainly people were finding their communities online. There's a variety of community platforms out there, learning platforms out there, but there certainly wasn't a great choice that really brought the best of both worlds kind of together. And so we're really kind of purpose built for like learning communities and academies and kind of training organizations and many others, and really kind of bring that intersection across the two, right? And so it's great with the word Disco. We can have a lot of fun with that, but really in terms of the founding of the company, like there was a very clear kind of white space to be really enabling kind of social learning, community-based learning, all in one platform. We heard it time and time again, people cobbling together many different tools to kind of achieve this type of use case. So we thought, no better reason than to kind of build it ourselves. And so now, the company's been around for close to 5 years. I've been with the company for 4, and we're off to the races, and super lucky to call Clocktower Advisors and CCC, partners of ours, but working with large training organizations, big customer education use cases, large professional associations, and many others using the platform for, again, right, this kind of social learning and social community building type of experience.
Yeah, I definitely want to dig into that a little bit, but I think one of the claims to fame around Disco as a platform is that really tight integration between its social learning application, an LMS, if you will, learning management system, and the community elements of what's there. And of course, we've seen there's other entrants in this space that do work in that intersection between community and learning. I would say that underscores the value of the use case. Community and learning go very well together
Mhm.
as use cases. And I think that there are reasons that an organization would definitely want to take a closer look at what Disco has to offer on that front. But then, you mentioned a couple of customer profiles that make use of Disco. Can we maybe dig into that a little bit? Like, what does an ideal customer look like for Disco? Like, what kind of things do they need? What are they looking for? Obviously, platforms can be used by a wide variety of organizations. The instance that the Community Consultants Collective uses that I help run, that is run on the Disco platform, is very event and social heavy, but not a lot on the learning side. We're probably not squarely in that ideal client profile, but
Mhm.
nevertheless, we get a lot of value out of the platform. But who is an ideal for your experience?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So certainly there's a few different segments that I'll touch on, but the core really are what we would describe as these kind of training organizations plus these kind of learning oriented kind of communities, right? So what I mean by that, like these training businesses or training organizations can be boot camps, um, training companies, online academies, things of that nature. So customers that are public of ours are like very large and scaled training companies like D2D experts, seventh level sales that certainly very much believe in the importance of like peer-to-peer learning, peer-led learning, community-based learning, right? And you can kind of see where the two kind of go hand in hand, right? So you have on Disco this kind of very robust learning functionality, but large like event management capabilities, chat channels, threads, DMs, social feeds, gamification, leaderboards. I can kind of go on and on, right? All in one, really easy to use and very like premium feeling interface. So part of our value proposition is allow you to like really easily build and scale a like branded, white labeled kind of academy or learning community. Those two terms we use both in the market. To go beyond that, other organizations like larger professional associations and boards of trades, chambers of commerce, that falls into our umbrella as well, and even just more maybe kind of pure play communities that have built they've made a big investment into learning, right? So like enterprisesellers.com is like a good example, right? It's like traditionally a community, but so much of what they do is on the education side, right? And I think I'd be amiss if I didn't kind of also say like AI obviously is very core to what we do. I didn't start with that, but at its core, like Disco is an AI native like learning and community platform, and I know we'll get to that. I just wanted to kind of
Yeah.
make reference to that as well, as that's a key differentiator for us.
I absolutely want to dig into that. You guys are doing some really interesting things on the AI front that I've had some direct experience with through managing our own Disco community. And so I think that's going to be a great part of the demo here. I like to get into the demo as quickly as possible
Mhm.
in this series. And so why don't we go ahead and jump on in, and if we could take a quick look around the front end of the platform, I think that'd be a great way to start.
Perfect. Yeah, sounds great, Todd. Awesome. So I'm going to walk through kind of upskill AI. So this is meant to be like an AI oriented academy that has a lot of community and social kind of elements within it. So you'll see me kind of call out a few of those. But as mentioned, Disco, AI native learning and community platform at its core. Real important part of our value proposition is like the speed at which you can start a community and build learning pathways, learning programs, all in one kind of integrated place. So like speed, premium design and UX and engagement are really like high engagement are really the core kind of outcomes we're looking to achieve with our customers. And so what you're seeing here is like the community home, right? So that's one aspect of it. And then the learn tab. These could be renamed, but I'll spend more of my time on these two tabs today, right? And so just from an architectural perspective, think of as the home as like the community home where you can have membership directories, group directories, community events, resources, discussions, things of that nature. And then the learning tab is where you can actually build out pathways and programs. And so we'll do a few of these things with AI kind of throughout, right? But the fundamental kind of building blocks across both tabs are what we call the Disco apps. So there's the ability to have custom pages, live events, feed is like one version. It can be used as like a discussion forum or more of like a social feed with posts that people can comment around and interact with. So as mentioned, they're great for announcements and news, but even discussion topics. Then you have the member directory, self-explanatory. Group directory allows you to sub-segment that membership directory into particular groups that you set up in the back end. Chat channels are Slack-like chat channels, and then you have kind of a collection of resources and content at the community level as well, right? This is fairly basic, but this is the building blocks of the whole architecture, right? So what you're seeing first is this for you screen, which is customized based on the individual, but the admin can customize the look and feel like of this with these various kind of block features here as well, right? So you have leaderboards. You can move these things around as needed, so it's quite a flexible kind of design here. But then you can also have these custom pages, which like is an example here of a welcome page, which has the same interface, but is really kind of used in a few different areas, right? So in this example, it's like a start here kind of page to learn a little bit more, maybe see different posts that are happening across the community, so on and so forth.
One of the things that I really liked about this when I first started using the platform was just how forgiving and flexible it was. Like it was easy enough. Like if I deployed, one of these areas like a discussion, and I wanted to move it to a different section, I could just drag and drop it, to the other section. So there's a lot of flexibility, especially as your community grows and you want something that grows with you as you have more and more people involved. I forget what you called it, the main bar that you're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that is going to evolve over time for sure for any customer.
Exactly, right? Like for example, like you can add these different sections in here. So if you wanted to say like, community resources, right? You can drop that in here, and it's really easy to start building collections, right? So you can start dropping this in here, right? And then you can start adding different folders of content, right? So it's really easy just to kind of keep the whole system quite flexible. And then even in here, right, I can start moving things into different sections as needed. So it's really like a drag and drop kind of philosophy kind of throughout, with the core operating principle of like beautiful design married with flexibility.
Yeah, and it is like I regularly hear compliments about like what a nice interface it is. It's very clean, and it's very very nice to work in, very pleasant environment to be in. I would be remiss though if I didn't point out though that there's a little bit of a double-edged sword because there's so much flexibility here. It can be a little overwhelming to know where to begin. And I'm sort of wondering, as you are onboarding a new customer, what kind of things do you do to help them sort of see their way through getting the early configuration set up for the platform?
Yeah, super good question, Todd. So when you go through an onboarding and you start your workspace of Disco or your community, like it'll ask you, are you building a community? Are you building more of like a training program? Are you building like a customer academy? So on and so forth. And that'll customize what the initial workspace looks like what layout is pre-recommended with certain things already configured. So that's just out of the box, right? So for example, like the structure for upskill AI here and what came preloaded with it versus like maybe HR Club, which is a little bit more of like a specific like community first use case, might look a little bit different in terms of like the sections and the apps that it comes preloaded with, and you can even see the difference between the two. That being said, the team takes a hands-on approach with how we onboard our customers, right? So depending on the plan that you go with, right? But at minimum, every customer will at minimum be involved in an onboarding workshop where you work with our customer success team to really understand your use case, talk about configuration, and provide best practices to them around their use case, right? So whether or not you're an org customer or an enterprise customer, you'll get an onboarding workshop, which is like a super important part of the process to kind of supercharge the process and ensure that our kind of customers are off the races.
That was one of my other questions was, when someone is brought in as a new customer, they get a customer success person. This is pretty typical with community platform experiences and onboarding. There's usually somebody that's on point to help you with some of the configuration decisions on the back end. If I'm a larger scale enterprise and I've got some integrations or I've got some kind of custom work that needs to be done, do you have a professional services team that does that, or should that customer be looking at like a third party provider to help them with that?
In terms of the setup of I guess the setup of the content and being a little bit more like hands-on keyboard support.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, or even things like, are there like API integrations or any kind of connections with like a CRM system, or are there other things like that where they've got other systems of record that need to be connected to the Disco platform? Like how would that work?
Yeah, so if you come onto our enterprise plan, certainly at that plan, you get access to the API and webhooks, which can connect you into whatever CRM you might be using, or HRIS tools, or other systems that way. We also plug in with Zapier. So many of our, let's just call them organizational level customers, like the Zapier integration is sufficient, right? Because it plugs in with HubSpot or Salesforce and a number of other kind of tools, right? So it's easy enough to kind of connect here, and then this allows you to create certain workflows and automations across kind of the two tools, which is like fairly common, right? So let's just say you were running a customer community, right, and you wanted to know that they completed the AI fundamentals course in Disco, right? There could be an easy Zapier flow that says like once they've completed this kind of course in Disco, it updates a record or a property on the HubSpot side, or once someone registers or attends a community event, it does something similar. So those are all kind of possible out of the box. But if more complex integrations are required, certainly API is the way to go. We have our team that advises on that, but we also have a network of what we call Disco experts, which are basically service providers that can help with a variety of these things.
That's fantastic. It occurs to me as you're describing this, I mean, the learning element features, if there was an HRIS integration, something like that, do you have some customers that use Disco as their social intranet experience, or are any of them using it as a digital workplace?
Yeah, we do. So like I kind of defined our kind of core segments, but we're starting to do a lot more work in the like internal learning environment as well. And so one customer that's kind of public is on our website is Kids and Co. And so they are a large early childhood education company and daycare company across North America, around kind of 4,000 employees or so. And so we are the essentially primary destination for all employee onboarding, ongoing compliance training, and like basically the social like experience layer of the organization. So different contests or events or other kind of cross company initiatives that they have are very much promoted on like the Disco kind of home community screen there. So it does end up being this kind of like more modern intranet type of experience, which they've absolutely loved, right? So
Yeah.
they're really getting maximizing the use of the platform because they can use it for that part of their use case and use Disco for more, let's just call it quote unquote like traditional kind of training efforts they need to deliver on. And so that's been super valuable for them. But we've got a lot of positive feedback around like the fact that they can do right? They can do the additional collaboration and social activities on there as well.
Well, and the other side of that, of course, is then if you are providing social learning like externally, that I know that there are controls or integrations where you can monetize the platform as well. That you can have membership as well as people can buy individual or groups of courses within the platform, the way that it's set up. I believe you have Stripe integration. Is that right?
Yeah, we do a Stripe integration. So that's how you would do the monetization. So easy enough to set it up down here, and then you can create recurring membership plans with annual or monthly or even quarterly payments, and then you can also just set up like a cost per kind of product. So this could be a sub community, a more premium community. This could be a course. It could be a mastermind. Many different things you can do with that.
That's really great. Could I start as a free community and then move to a paid membership model?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So like it's up to you to turn on the monetization as you see fit. Right. So if you're starting to monetize and just build a free community, and then over time you want to, I'll just jump in here. Right. You can have you can start adding the different membership tiers in here over time as you want.
By the way, that wasn't me asking a disingenuous question. I was genuinely curious about that. So.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So, well, let's get to one of the really shining features of the platform here, the learning experiences themselves. Like, how does somebody? What are my options for setting up learning experiences? And I don't think we can address it without talking about like how you're really leveraging AI for that part of the experience as well.
Yeah, so we'll jump into the Learn tab here, and you'll see, right? So there's kind of pathways and learning products. So pathways are a combination of courses that you can go through to kind of get a certificate. And then individual courses can be many different things. They can be cohort courses, right? So AI Fundamentals is a cohort course that has events and curriculum, feed, resources, a variety of other things kind of attached to it. And you can also have self-paced courses, which might be more simple in nature, which is just like a curriculum or maybe curriculum plus a few resources that sit outside the curriculum. But what I really wanted to show here, Todd, was the kind of AI program generator. So if you go into add a product, at the top here, you see AI program generation, right? Which you can go in here. They'll give you a couple example templates and prompts to use, right? So you could hit like, create a 3-week self-paced AI upskilling prompt down here, and then it's going to like allow you to kind of target the prompt down here if you like. But let's just say here I could just do an example here, right? Create a self-paced course about how best-in-class customer success teams are using AI today. Each module should have 3 lessons, 1 assignment, and 1 quiz per module. So this is a basic prompt, but I just want to show the workflow here. What you can do is bring in a bunch of your own information. So you can bring in your own assets, video files, PDFs, etc., to inform the creation of the course. You can also reference third-party links or attach any existing content that might have already been uploaded into the system or media. And then you can determine whether or not you want web search on or off. So web search means it's going to use like the LLM in the background to basically complete the course with access to the rest of the internet via the LLM. So in this instance, that's Anthropic Claude. And when you produce this, basically what you get to here is going to be like our program generator. So we'll keep talking, Todd, and then we'll jump back to this. But this is basically, think of it almost as like an instructional design agent, and you go back and forth with the agent to produce a full course.
I gotta say, this is legit fun to use, just to come in here and work with it. I've done some work on the back end with this using AI to build that. Having the sample prompt is hugely helpful. It helps you overcome that blank page syndrome. I think this is something we increasingly have is we get that cold, clammy feeling when we're trying to figure out like, what does this prompt need to say? As you're like, and if I build it the wrong way, is it going to give me a bad result? Well, like having some well-formed examples there is a great head start.
Exactly, right. And so it'll produce up here at the top, but even just if you wanted to see like what the next step will look like here's just an example of that, right? Of like this is truly what will be produced at the top in a second, right? Like mastering human skills in the AI era. It produces like a very thorough initial outline. So it'll show you module by module, lesson by lesson, and a pretty thorough explanation of what it's going to build on once you go to the next stage of the process. And the thinking is on the left here, you can continue to add more documents or more context to further inform the creation or edit it, right? So you could say, you know what, use this document, recreate the lesson 2 in module 3, right? Or combine like lesson 1 and 2 in module 3 to produce this, different lesson, right? So you would go back and forth with follow-up prompts on the left until you're ready, and then you hit generate, and then it'll produce the whole, course for you in the system, right? So we'll show it with the version up here once it's ready, right? So here's the customer success example, right? So it's giving a pretty thorough kind of example here. All the quizzes are being kind of detailed out, the assignments, etc. In the interest of the demo, I'll hit generate so we can come back to it in a second, Todd. But it's going to produce a full version of the course with images, modules, fully built out quizzes, assignments, etc. So we'll jump back to it in a second.
It's really great at it's filling in the blanks and helping to get you maybe 85-90% of the way there, so that all you need to do is just put the spruce on it, add some additional things. And even like with the module cover pages, if you want to have something that's a branded cover, you've got an AI tool that actually builds things based on your color scheme that you picked for your community. So that's just got an increasingly easy button to use in the process. I wanted to ask you, Chris, this has, in my experience, I've looked at over 130 community platforms that are out there, like live and legacy, that are still hanging around the internet in one form or the other.
Yep.
Of these, there's maybe about 10 of them that I would say are specialized in like an LMS plus community sort of experience, probably fewer than that. But this feels like a pretty unique offering that you have put together here with the AI combination with the LMS build. I just wanted to get your sense of the sense that you're getting from customers as they're seeing this for the first time.
Yeah, certainly we are getting similar feedback, right? I think twofold, right? I mean, when we even look at our own analysis around why people are choosing us, it's because community and learning are in one centralized place, and it's easy to manage both in a singular place. Like without fail, that is consistently a reason people choose Disco. And then of course the fact that we are AI native in our approach and our product is probably like the 1B reason, right? Like those two things together. So it definitely is very differentiated in market. And what's nice in terms of being like a newer entrant is that we've been building AI into the system from the very early days, right? So it truly feels like the AI is natively built into the product. So not just even when you're building the program at the top here, right? But we've done other AI integrations where basically the AI will suggest response to every community member's question, and suggest a response to that question here for you as well, right? So this is also just a nice little add-on that saves community managers quite a bit of time. We all know how time intensive it can be to kind of get back to channel messages and chat. So here's another example, like in the context of a course. And at times, we'll actually even recommend users to connect with each other. So the prompt, the suggested response might be like, Todd, connect with Jane Doe because they were engaging around a particular topic like a couple weeks ago, right? So it's really built also to build kind of human connection there, which is core to like our vision, right? Like the purpose of Disco, yes, it's an AI native company, but really it's to enable like human-led learning, human connection, in the age of AI, right? So we're really leaning into that, right? The AI is to support these types of human-led types of communities and learning environments, not replace.
And I really appreciate the philosophy of that. And I'll say that suggested answers piece that's AI generated is generally pretty good, and it's even better the more people that you get into the community. As that gets richer, its answers get better. And I like how in the course of the answers, it's not operating like a Google AI summary of things. It's actually citing the sources and mentioning the people. And like, if I'm going to use that as a community manager, I'm absolutely going to edit, what's in there. I wouldn't ever recommend that somebody just takes it,
Of course,
verbatim at face value. But it does put that community manager in the driver's seat for composing a reply and making it about the members of the community. And so like the fact that it mentions who brought up a particular topic or who had a question and really puts those members front and center is, I think it's a nice ethical way to use AI to connect people to people.
Totally. Yeah. And we kind of think about it like the community managers or other like operational folks that are using the system. Like we want to be saving you just a little bit of time here or there so you can focus on, what you do best, right? Which is like enabling kind of human connection, delivering amazing programming and content, and not get burdened with some of the more like administrative things kind of day to day if you have to answer like repetitive questions or things that are popping up in the community. And so if we can help with that and really decrease the time required to run a larger kind of community or academy, we're doing our job. So you'll even see it's like layered in like creating a post with AI in the feed, right? Like you can click this and it'll help you kind of generate a post here for you based on recent conversations in that feed. If you go into the back end, right, and even look at like automations and things like that, it'll indicate like, you want to send a message out to some of your more like recently like less engaged members and things like that. So there's AI integrated in the flow of work throughout the whole system.
That's really true, and I'm glad you brought up the automations piece as well, because that's one of the things that has stood out to me as I brought people into communities that I've run, and they usually say like, "Wow, this is a really nice onboarding process that's been built in," and that's just like one automation out of the box that you get. You can build your own through that process.
Exactly. I know we've touched on it a few times, but just so folks that are listening to this into the future can see what was produced here, right? So this is the AI strategies for customer success teams that was created, right? So the lessons are built here. The predominantly text-based lessons today, we do have AI generated audio in beta, which we're excited to test with a small set of customers. So that's in the lab, so to speak. But the platform does support video and other integrations in here as well. So this is like the version that's AI generated. You can start enabling attachments. You can add imagery, as mentioned, kind of video and other integrations like Airtable, Google Docs, PDFs, Miro, YouTube links, etc. Right, and then even here, you'll see the quizzes are fully built out. Right, so this is all AI generated in here already, and then as well. The assignments are fully built out here as well, which they're at the bottom. You can see people can submit. There's actually a variety of different ways people can kind of submit here, not to get too in the weeds, but you can set it up where people can upload a file or whatever it may be, right? So, and then of course, the first version of the branded assets are all in here as well. You'll see all the thumbnails are pre-populated, the cover photos pre-populated. So, as you said earlier, Todd, gets you 85% or 90% of the way there, and then you start tinkering and tweaking from here.
Yeah, and again, it's been a fun experience for me to play with it and see what new capabilities are there. And I'll say that my experience has been that the Disco team has done a nice job of responding to bug fix requests, as well as putting on a pretty regular drumbeat of enhancements to the platform over the past year or two. Nice from that perspective as well. I'm wondering if we can maybe take a little bit of a look at the back end. I know you've popped in there a couple of times here.
Yeah.
And for someone that is on the analytics side of things, trying to figure out, hey, how do we know if our community is successful? What does that look like?
Yeah. So quite a bit you can do in the back end here. There's a very rich kind of insights and analytics functionality in the back end. Engagement scores is an area that I think we differentiate versus some of the other folks in market. And so one of the key things we learned is that everybody's definition of engagement is slightly different. And so instead of us having the pre-developed structure in the system, we let you edit the weights of the different ways people can engage in the community. So for example, you can comment on a post or a piece of content, you can react, you can send someone a DM, you can channel message, you can complete a piece of content, you can complete a full module, so on and so forth. You could change these from ratings from 0 to 10 to change the engagement score and then see a list of who your most engaged users are and what's driving that score here. So real extreme flexibility on this feature, and we've just gotten quite a bit of love on this. And this also then drives any leaderboards you have on the front end. So it's important to kind of call that out there as well. So that is the broader community level engagement reporting and analytics. You could also dive really deep in on a per product basis. So whether or not it's a learning product or a community product that you've created in the system, you can go quite deep here and say, let's just say I was looking at the AI fundamentals course. In here, I can get quite deep around time being spent, engagement score in that particular product, who's registered, and then actually dive in and see an aggregate view of people progressing through this particular product in the system, right? So this is when things start getting into a little bit more the community learning aspect of the use case, but you can see what percentage of people started a curriculum, the average progress rate, the average curriculum completion rate, and then you can dive into each individual here as well and truly go in and see what they have or haven't completed, and yeah, get quite granular here.
And I've seen these dashboards change quite a bit, even over the past year. So they've definitely had some enhancements come in here, and it's nice to be able to break this down to the product level. So for those of you who are trying to wrap your head around the terminology here, the products are the learning experiences within the platform, and they can all be individually configured and in a variety of different ways. Not just the AI piece that we saw, but you could do sort of event-driven, cohort-driven, kinds of learning experiences, as well as self-paced, kinds of learning. I'm sure I'm not doing justice to it, but just
no, you did great.
Really neat, really neat. So I know we've kind of been going around here at blinding speed for folks. Is there anything that I tend to skip around because I see a lot of these demos over time, and I assume some basic things like I can set sort of role levels. I have discussion areas. There's @mentioning. There's private messaging. Like the table stakes stuff is all there in the platform. Is there an area that I maybe have kind of skipped past here that we should talk about here a little bit?
Yeah, you touched on it quite a bit, like table stake stuff are there. So maybe there's two things that I'll highlight before we wrap the demo portion. One is the Ask AI piece here. So not uncommon for there to be a community member facing agent in many of the systems today, right? And so this is always present up here on the top right. So I can ask a question related to the community and get an answer back based on the aggregate wisdom of the community, right? So this on the back end, you're able to customize what goes into this response, the AI generated response. Is it all of your content, event recordings, channel messages? If you integrate Slack messages, you can also pull in third-party links or knowledge bases. So for our customer education folks, you can pull in your KB to support this, which we're doing more work in that area as well. And then the AI will generate the answer based on all the sources you've set up in the back end and then take you to the right part of the community in which it's pulling from, right? So it'll take you to a particular lesson or guide or resource, etc. Right? So that's there. You could also access it here. But then what's nice is if you are using us for the learning portion, there basically is a AI agent that can always sit on the right-hand side here, right? Which I've already pre-populated this, but you can ask any question about the lesson at hand and it'll give you a response, and you can even ask follow-on questions. So it really becomes this kind of learning and community co-pilot that sits with you.
I was going to say it's like a co-pilot, right? Exactly. We see in a lot of browsers now. So very, very nice. Cool. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention as well that I know that there is a mobile app experience, and where I'll say that kind of thing stands out. for people that are used to maybe some more down market solutions that aren't serving enterprise customers, having a mobile app experience is pretty standard. But as you get into the enterprise spaces, a lot of them will say like, well, we have a mobile responsive design and we don't have a native app experience as part of that. This is another differentiator with Disco where you are serving enterprise customers and you do have a mobile app in place.
Yep. We do have a mobile app in place. You get it regardless of what plan you move forward with. And so if you go with our organizational plan, you will be using the Disco app. If you go with the enterprise plan, there's an option for you to have a custom branded app.
And I'll say it is I've made use extensively of the mobile app. It's a beautiful experience. It can sometimes be a little bit wonky. I don't know if it's on an older iPhone or what, but sometimes you got to do some more refreshes than I would expect to have to do on it. But it is really nice to have all the notifications and everything on the go and be able to reply to things within the platform. It is fully featured.
Yeah, it's meant to be like, it's all for the content consumption aspect, right? So content creation, like creating deeper kind of resources and things like that outside the chat channels, like you would do still on desktop or mobile web. But yeah, and appreciate all the feedback, and there's like continued investment happening on the mobile app into 2026 to kind of continue to iterate on it, and so you'll see more coming on the mobile app side.
It's even nice just to have it. So yeah, that's great. So this is a great overview. I know we've probably glossed over a great many things, but the purpose of this is to maybe whet someone's appetite and help them to cement the idea that this might be a right solution for them in their situation and for what they're doing. Just a couple of bookkeeping questions around here. So I already asked about pro services. When a customer is signing up for the platform, some community platforms, especially some of the enterprise platforms, will offer a staging area or like a copy of their main environment or a place to play around with settings. Is that something typical that the Disco offers as part of its package?
Yeah. So enterprise customers are able and often do opt to have a sandbox environment, which is outside of their production environment, which they can test and tweak and experiment with things. So that's something we do for enterprise level customers.
And then with your pro services team, do you have customers who've wanted to migrate data in either learning experiences or community content repositories or conversations or membership lists, any of that?
Yeah. So we have done that. So both sides of the house there, in terms of, let's just say you're moving from an existing platform and have an abundance of existing like profile information that you want to have brought in, and don't want the user to say to like duplicate it all, right? So that type of syncing of data fields from other third parties is possible through the API. Also, just the adding and provisioning of users at scale is something we often do. And so the simple answer, is yes. From my experience, the devil's in the details on these types of things in terms of the specifics, but those are all things that we've for sure we have tackled in the past and tackle regularly.
That's great. And then, as you said, Disco's been around for about 5 years. Is there private equity funding, or like how are you guys going to market? I don't know if you want to characterize yourselves as a startup. You've been in the market for 5 years now.
Yeah. So we're VC funded, VC backed. So our lead of our Series A from a few years back was GSV, so a large ed tech firm out in California, and so happy and fortunate to have them obviously as our lead, and we've been kind of growing fast and furiously since then, right? So at the moment, we're kind of well funded, and we'll continue to be so kind of as we continue to scale.
That's great. And then I guess the other side of this, people's use cases sometimes change and their needs evolve over time. If someone ever needed to leave Disco and go to another platform, how do I get my data out of the system? That's always a question for customers.
Yeah, so the data can be exported through CSV natively in the platform, and then if they're looking for more, let's say, more granular data and information on progress and things like that, that can be exported and be pulled out via webhooks. So that's where like access to the API and the webhooks is going to be important. But yeah, at the end of the day, you own your data. So we will work collaboratively with you to make sure that it's ported out if you were to move on from Disco.
That's great. And that's something the customer can either go to you for help with, or they can use the API to pull that data out themselves.
Correct.
That's great. That's great. And then, of course, the question that ends up on everybody's mind is, how much does this thing cost?
Yeah.
Like I mean, there are enterprise solutions that cost, low to mid six figures, depending on what you want to do. And then there are entry level platforms that cost $40 a month, to use. Where do you guys kind of fall in scale wise? Like, of course, that's probably going to have a lot to do with your core customers and what they can usually support as a budget.
Yeah. So I'd say we kind of operate in the middle of the market, right? And certainly we have an offer for like the low to mid range as well. And so like our organizational plan is pricing transparency on the site. It's $4.99 a month. You save 20% if you pay annually, right? So it ends up being like a little bit under five grand for the year, which is kind of our entry level, right? So certainly there's more price conscious like alternatives on the market. So that's why I say we're like, there's closer to the middle of the market on that front. And then of course from there you graduated to our enterprise plan, which is custom pricing and certainly for folks that are looking to have like scaled communities in the thousands of users and that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, that's really great. So this has been really amazing, man. I know it's been a whirlwind tour of the Disco platform. I hope that this has proven useful to someone out in internet land
Hopefully.
think about this. If you would like to book a demo of the Disco platform, here's how you can do it in the little banner here below. Or if you're interested, I forget what this piece is for here. This was
if they want to start a free trial, they can.
There you go.
I can't touch it, but where your finger is pointing, by all means, right? There's a free trial, 14-day free trial that people can go on to and explore the system and platform. And as always, right, if folks want to provide feedback, I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. Just look up my name. That's probably my preferred platform. But all feedback is welcome from anyone that checks it out, even if you don't move forward. So always excited to hear what people think.
That's great. That's great. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you for tuning in to this special series on platform demos. Was there a question that I failed to ask, or something that came up in the course of the demo that you would like to put to Chris or to the folks at Disco? Please leave it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you around that, and I do try to answer each and every comment that comes in on that. You can follow us on YouTube, on the Clocktower Advisors channel, as well as on LinkedIn on our company page for Clocktower Advisors. In the meantime, what platform would you like to see us take a look at next? Please let us know in the comments as well. And don't forget to like and follow our channel for a little bit more. In the meantime, Chris, thank you again so much for your time today. Great gratitude to you and the folks at Disco for putting a great product on the market.
Thanks for having me, Todd.